So what I want to do for the next 15 or 20 minutes is just to give an overview of the Ironscales platform, talk a little bit about what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, and the differences that you would get with Ironscales, which is a API email security solution, and what the difference between that and your traditional legacy SEG is. So at Ironscales, what we do is we are not an inline solution. What we do is we actually integrate at the mailbox level. Very simple integration, takes just a couple of minutes. We don't change any MX records. We don't reroute. And what we do is we are able to analyze emails in a entirely different way than what users are, let's say security analysts are familiar with, which is to write a lot of rules, create policies, and essentially maintain a email security posture regarding yesterday's threats. So how do we do it? Well, we use an adaptive AI approach. It means that all the information that we get, we go ahead and we pump it back into the AI in order to make more informed decisions about the type of emails that are coming in so that we can pass better verdicts and get those emails out of the inbox as soon as they come in. Now, we do this with a three-pillar approach. The first one is using behavioral AI, NLP, and intent. So behavioral AI, what we do is we map out the organization, and what we try to understand is who's communicating with who. Does it make sense that the two people are communicating with each other? Do they normally communicate with each other about this topic at the specific time from the specific location? And we can start to take a look at whether there is some type of an anomaly or problem with this particular communication. We also look at NLP, so we look at language. This is very good for things like BEC, where the language may be fairly innocuous, like I lost my phone, can I get your number? Where the attack may not be imminent, yet they're just trying to do an availability check or establish some type of relationship so that they can perform an attack farther down the line. And then obviously one of the main things that we do is we focus on intent-based attacks. So we're trying to look at what exactly is the person trying to do within the email. We want to see, again, you may have a very limited amount of language in the body, and it's very important for us to be able to understand what exactly is the intent and to contextualize the actual email. The second pillar is the malware and URL scanning. So we use things like Bitdefender, Google Web Risk, Kaspersky, about 50, 60 different engines from VirusTotal to scan all the links and attachments for any malicious attachments that come in. This is obviously very important as well. That would be our second pillar. And then finally, the third one is what we call the Ironscales community. We've got thousands of customers. And within those customers, we have probably close to 30,000 Ironscales practitioners. And that means we're talking about security analysts. So people that are very familiar with email security. And what they're doing is they're looking at incidents within their own environment, analyzing them, and then we anonymously aggregate and weight their input into other customers. So obviously we're not sharing any data, but we're able to leverage this in order to essentially crowdsource and share data that we get from other organizations. We're going to take a look at a couple of incidents actually to understand how it is that we go ahead and identify malicious issues within an email. So the first thing that you'll notice over here is that we have something called Themis. Themis is our virtual SOC analyst. And what she does is she essentially assigns a confidence score to every email that comes in. And then based on whether or not it passes a customizable threshold, the AI will either go ahead and auto-classify it. And if it comes in below that threshold, then what would happen is it would be passed off as an unclassified incident in order for you to go ahead and make that determination. Now, we use thousands of different data signals essentially to build out that confidence level. It could be anything from those things I mentioned before, like the behavioral AI, the NLP, the intent, the community, the scanners. But of course, we're also looking at all the information, right? All the metadata. So we look at the headers, and we're looking at DKIM, DMARC, SPF, authentication. We're looking at what you call the sender fingerprint, right? So where is it coming from? Is it spoofed? All these different pieces of information are going to be fed into Themis, and then based on that, she's going to make that confidence score. So in this case, you can see it's 90%. You'll notice there's some incident tags. So in this case, it's a BEC and a gift card request. You'll notice that we also provide a little bit of information over here. The language, similar to BEC. We know Alex Paquette, who happens to be the Ironscales COO from an Ironscales domain, and it's coming from some Gmail domain. And the community is highly competent as well. I'm just going to kind of zoom out again. And then as we come down, we'll take a look at some of the information that's available. So in this case, you can see he's reaching out to Charlie, an employee of Ironscales. He wants to surprise some people with gifts. And so Charlie, right, who works on the sales team, is probably not going to look too deep into the email. It just seems like the CEO wants him to go out and purchase some gift cards. And yet this is an impersonation that's taking place over here. So I come down a little bit farther right there. You can see the sender relationship assessment. We've got an exact display name impersonation. So we've got Alex right there. Gmail can be hard to detect. Why? Because it's a very reputable domain. Often the server sits in the US. The return path domain age, in this case, is going to be 29 years. And if you come down a little bit farther as we look over here within the sender fingerprint, right, you can see there's that impersonation as well, but yet there's authentication that is passed over here. And as many of you know, just because an FPF passes or DMARC passes doesn't necessarily mean that everything is okay. Just because it fails doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with it, as it may not have been configured properly. So at the end of the day, these are just a couple of different pieces of the entire puzzle. And what we really need to do is sit there at the mailbox level, utilize all those different pieces, and then based on that, make that decision. Come down a little bit more. We mentioned the community before. In this particular case, you can see 192 other Ironscales practitioners have seen this already, and they've resoundingly and definitively determined that this is phishing. So as we mentioned, we'll go ahead and weight this in a Themis, and it'll help alongside all those other data signals we spoke about, be able to make that determination as to whether or not it's phishing. You notice some of the analysts have pegged it as internal employee impersonation, credential theft, and scam. So this is obviously helpful as well. Okay, so that's pillar number 1 and 3 over there. What I want to do is take a look at another incident as well. So we're going to come down here to the URL scanning and computer vision. Okay, in this case, again, Themis, 90% confidence, only this time it's credential theft, and it's also being perpetrated against a VIP recipient. So one of the things that we do is we do automated VIP discovery. All right, so we're able to look at titles that are in the AD during the actual sync and identify people with specific titles. And then it'll provide a tag either when the recipient is a VIP or an impersonation attempt of a VIP is taking place. And this is obviously helpful for the SOC analyst to take a closer and more granular look at exactly what is going on. Again, the language is similar. Community is confident. We have an issue with the SMTP server's IP as well. If we come down a little bit more in this case, you can see this one's actually being perpetrated against a VIP. They're letting him know that his password is about to expire. And so they're obviously trying to do something to get him to pass off his credentials. You can see they're using front desk service. Again, your average employee who's not keen on security won't look past this and check what the actual email domain is. A little bit farther down over here, you can see we're checking for the links. In this case, number 1, you'll notice over here that this is actually an Ironscales login page, right? So they've gone ahead and essentially created a fake login page. And when we're talking about detection, I'll come over here to the scanners themselves. You can see it's been picked up, number 1, by TrustWave, but number 2, and probably more importantly, is it's been picked up by Ironscales Visual. And this is an in-house proprietary solution that we've developed, which basically goes and takes apart well-known login pages and picks it apart pixel by pixel to detect when it's fake. And this is helpful as well. Since we're anyways on this page right here, you can see just some of the scanners that we use in order to analyze links. Okay, now as we mentioned before, when it's above a certain threshold, which again is customizable by you, depending on whether you want to run the solution in a autopilot or a more co-pilot approach. When it comes in below that confidence level, so what will happen is it'll create an unclassified incident over here. And what we're going to see is we're going to see lower percentage Themis confidence over here. And unlike the classified ones, you'll see that there is no button that's depressed over here. With a single click, you can resolve the issue. It'll either quarantine it. In our case, we both quarantine spam and phishing. Or if it's resolved as phishing, you can reclassify it, a false positive, back to the mailbox just by clicking the save button. So you really got the handling, and at the end of the day, it's all about the approach that you want to take. Now, one of the things that we believe at Ironscales is that you have to augment the end user experience. When it comes to having the tools, number 1, to identify phishing, and number 2, to self-service and be able to get that information that they need without escalating it to the security team. Now, we do have a mechanism for doing that. What I want to do is take you over to the mailbox right here. And what you can see over here, let me just go ahead and zoom out for a second, is that we've applied a banner across the top of this one in one of the 9 different impersonation protection use cases that we've identified. So it could be anything from a domain lookalike to a spoofing attempt, BEC. Perhaps we've got the company name or an exact display name impersonation. And instead of initiating banner fatigue and just telling somebody this is external, we provide highly customizable from a look and feel verbiage perspective and very granular as well banner. In this case, you can see we know Lior. He's our VP Finance, but it's actually being sent from an unfamiliar address. And this is supposed to alert the end user to give a closer look to exactly what is going on. In this case, you can see there's an attempt to get somebody to switch the payment. It might be valid, but what we want to give the end user is the ability to do something once we've displayed this banner. So first of all, they can report this using the report phishing button. So I'll just pop that out right here, select a reason, then just send that off to the security team. Alternatively, they can also use Themis Copilot. And what this does is it allows you, the end user, right, to query the same Themis backend that we saw before. So for example, you can write something like, should I respond to this email? And what's going to happen is that Themis is going to provide that end user with information over here in order to make a better judgment. Okay. In this case, what it's telling them is that if you're unsure of its authenticity, you should probably verify it. So then they can self-service and then make a decision. Well, maybe I should reach out to the team by reporting this. Or Themis may say, seems pretty accurate based on the metadata that we have. There's different data signals. Feel free to go ahead and respond to this individual. So we think it's a combination, right, of both the AI plus what we call HI, the human interaction, the human element. So what we want to do is we want to provide those 3 pillars, the adaptive AI, right? So all the information that we get from classifying those incidents plus the end users across the 3 pillars, right? So the behavioral AI, the malware, URL, and attachment scanning alongside the community. And then at the end, of course, augment that end user experience by giving them the tools that they need in order to self-service and then also report issues back to the team. Now we'll just hop over here to the homepage for a second, just some of the reports that you can see. Incident summary, very interesting. So you can see the number of incidents that were created, how they've been resolved over here. You'll see that on delivery protection. So incidents that had issues, right, where we detected malicious links. And then a little bit farther down, you can also see some of those different mailbox anomalies. So we spoke about the impersonation protection before. Here are the different types of issues we've identified. So display name impersonation, spoofing, known address and display name, company name appears. So you can see all of that different information over here. On the overview as well, you can get a good look at the type of email threats that we've resolved. Okay, so you can see we've got business email compromise, scam vendor, VIP impersonations, all this laid out on the UI for you over here as well. And so what we've done is we've combined the threat protection, which we spoke about right now, with a simulation and training platform as well. So let's go over here. This is included. It's a unified solution. So we're inside simulation and training. Number one, you can supply the end user with training. So essentially assign them modules. We've got autonomous campaigns. Just basically set it and forget it. Let Ironscales do all the work. Decide which months you want to run a campaign. And then we'll go ahead and do everything for you. We've got recommended campaigns. So based on previous ones you've run, we'll basically put it together for you, say which recipients, how many emails, all the scheduling, next, and then you can go ahead and launch it. We've got spear phishing, which means that we'll actually create basically a campaign per person. So we're working off the information that we've got from the mailbox and from the Active Directory. And you can essentially have Ironscales create a custom phishing campaign where we link what seems relevant and relationships within the organization together in order to kind of create a targeted attack against each person. And then finally, kind of the bread and butter of the simulation and training is to go ahead and create your own simulation campaign. Very, very simple. If you've never used this before, about 10 minutes, you can go ahead and set it up, give it a name. Obviously, you've got different language options over there. Select your participants. Okay, you can use names, departments, tag titles. One of the really nice ones to use is the featured groups, right? So this one over here gives you a way to actually use either people that are targeted and identified during threat protection or people that have failed or haven't been tested before. So you'll notice never targeted by a phishing campaign, employees getting the most phishing attacks. And so you can put that all together over here. At the bottom, you can see you can set it up. So basically, how long do you want to run the campaign? From here, you can move over to the templates. At the moment, we've got something north of 400 different templates broken down by different areas. Yeah, so you can see 422 right there. Healthcare, finance, IT, very popular is our IT one. So to try to get people to reset my password, for example, take a look at it right here. If we click on it, so you can preview it. And you'll notice also different languages that we support, mid-level, and then you can obviously filter over here by template type. So is it a drive-by? Just trying to get you to read it, attachment, call to action, essentially pass your credentials. We can look at different template levels. So depending on who our target audience is, do we want to do one that is more difficult to identify? Now, once we've selected our template, we move on to the landing page. So what happens if you actually get lured? So what's going to happen is you will hit this landing page over here. And you'll notice that this is what the end user will get. And at the bottom of all the landing pages, they'll be prompted to go ahead and watch a video. Okay, this video can be selected from the training modules over here. We've got Wiser content, about 200 different videos. We've also got premium content packs from Ninja, Habituate, and Cybermaniacs. A lot of different topics that are covered over here, each one between about 75 to 90 seconds. So for those people that are alert, they'll be prompted to watch this, and then all that can be logged on the back end. If you've passed, you'll just simply get a notification in the email. Good job, you've passed this particular campaign. Now, once you run that campaign and it all concludes, obviously you want to get some very granular statistics about how people have performed. Let's go ahead and scroll down here and find something where people were lured. Some of the information, right? So you got the campaign details. You'll see the templates that were used, landing page training module. You can see the summary, some more graphs and reports, and then you can see exactly how people have performed. We also show you their last 5 results so you can identify patterns as far as how are people performing. Brian over here, he's done all right. He did fail 1 test. If you look at Charlie, so he might need some additional attention, right? He's either skipped his campaigns and deleted them, or he's actually failed them. And then you can come down here and take somebody like Henrik, and he's just, passed his last 5 tests, and we've got him ranked as an expert level. In addition, if you want, you can generate compliance reports directly from the platform. And so that's obviously helpful as well if you need that to see who's indeed completed their training. Now, there is a good way to go ahead and tie the threat protection directly into the simulation and training. If we come back to our incidents, here, imagine that you get a phishing email, which seems well crafted, and you'd be interested in understanding how can or how would people in my organization perform if they were to get the same attack. So imagine 0-day attack, it just came in 10 minutes ago. What you can do is you can scroll down here, click on create template, and what we'll do is we'll essentially defang the email, convert it to a template very quickly. So in this case, a fake DocuSign, click on create template, and then you can go ahead and add that to a campaign. So time to market from the time it comes in, right? And Ironscales has picked it up until you test other users can simply be 5 to 10 minutes. Just a really good way to leverage something that's actually happening in real time and to find out how people would perform. Now, the last thing I wanted to mention just before we conclude over here is the fact that we create a risk profile for every user. So one of the things that we're able to do by integrating at the mailbox level is be able to identify how users are performing in the platform and leverage that into threat protection. So we're going to take David over here, and we're going to take a look at 2 different metrics. One is called the awareness level, and one is called the risk level. And these are based on 2 different metrics. One is going to be how well has David performed on his campaigns, right? Has he opened, reported, clicked, or deleted them? We're also going to look at what has been the end result of David reporting a suspicious email via that report phishing button that we showed earlier, right? So in this case, a good portion of what he's reported is phishing. There's some safe and spam. Now, the reason why this is so important is that we can leverage users that seem to be pretty keen on what a phishing email looks like and actually tell the AI if this particular user, after they've reported 10, 20, 30, 50 emails that have been determined to be phishing, we can actually have the subsequent emails from that user be auto-classified and also have any similar emails within the organization be auto-classified as well. So we're able to, again, utilize and leverage intelligent, or not intelligent, but let's say security savvy end users into our security mechanisms and kind of stiffen up our security posture. Anyways, in kind of high level, that's the Ironscales platform. Quick recap, right? So adaptive AI, three pillars: behavioral AI, NLP intent, community, right? Crowdsourcing, threat hunting, and then finally we got those attachment and malware scanners working towards you.